I've been in conversation with the superintendent about a discussion as it relates to reopening board meetings for those that wish to attend face-to-face. We will be moving forward in the process of reopening the board meetings in 2022. This will be done according to CDC and DHEC guidelines. With that in mind, we will continue to monitor the new variant as well as COVID cases within the Midlands. Our first order of business is 6.01, which is the invocation, presented by Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. We come here to do the business of our communities on behalf of all the students and families in Richland 1. As we gather, we are reminded that in our differences, there is great strength. We do not all think the same way or believe the same things. Yet when we work together to move our community forward in a spirit of mutual respect and common decency, we showcase what is best about our communities. To be sure, we do not agree about everything, and we often feel fiercely protective of what we do believe. But there is one thing on which we all agree. Every student, every family, and every Richland 1 teacher and employee deserves the integrity and dedication that this board can bring to bear on the issues before us. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you for the invocation, and thank you for what you do in the community as well as Richland County. We are now down to item 6.02, which is the agenda adoption. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Myers. Seeing no question or discussion, we'll now cast our vote. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Mine just popped up.
The ayes have it, 7-0 vote. Please be advised that all 7 commissioners are in attendance tonight. We now move down to item 6.03. We're going to have the assistance of Commissioner Lomanak. I would like to read the school board spotlight. School board spotlight, December 14th, 2021. Richland 1 and a member of the district's facility services team have been recognized at the state level for outstanding energy saving initiatives. Stacy Washington from the State South Carolina Energy Office will tell us more about the awards and make the presentation.
Good evening, Dr. Witherspoon, Board of Commissioners, and Administration. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Justin Shutt. I'm with Schneider Electric. It is a pleasure to see you all again. Just briefly wanted to give you all an update on the project as it stands today. This award is a result of a 2-part project, a comprehensive energy management program that Richland 1 has been developing with the Schneider Electric team for quite some time. Part 1 was focused around reducing your utility consumption as much as possible in the form of implementing demand-side efficiencies. The way we did that was by implementing technology and infrastructure renovations to 15 specific sites throughout the district, resulting in enhanced learning environments, a healthier indoor air quality throughout those schools. Part 2 looked at increasing the supply side with the implementation of nearly 9 megawatts of renewable solar power. And that's going to be generated and harvested on site at each of these 15 locations, and also includes a robust STEM initiative. So the students will actually be able to participate in studying the process of energy generation to the plug of the actual school itself, creating a live learning lab for those students. The results of this program are a guaranteed return on investment in the tune of nearly $60 million that goes back to the school district, and this is guaranteed utility savings. Because of this massive savings, as well as the significant reduction in your utility consumption, the district has been the recipient of several accolades, and we applaud your efforts for this very transformational initiative that you all have taken on. And I'd like to welcome from the State Energy Office, Ms. Stacy Washington, to present the award to the district.
Good evening, everyone. After hearing about this great project, it's no wonder that they received this recognition from the Association of South Carolina Energy Managers. Each year, we recognize a project and a manager of the year. And this year, in 2021, we'd like to recognize Richland County School District 1 for Energy Project of the Year. In addition to receiving the Energy Project of the Year, we'd also like to recognize, as the Association of South Carolina Energy Managers, Miles Hanley as Energy Manager of the Year. Miles has worked tirelessly to make sure that the school district is reducing their energy use and has implemented many projects to energy conservation measures to reduce energy consumption on the district level, and we'd like to recognize him for that.
All right. We also want to take a moment, Dr. Witherspoon, if you mind staying there for 1 second, and Commissioner. 2 of the district's facility projects have been recognized at the national and state levels for excellence in design. Doug Quackenbush from Quackenbush Architects and Planners will tell us more about the awards and make the presentations.
Great to be with you. This is the most exciting thing I get to do in my profession, which is to celebrate with our clients when we have projects that are recognized. It's just terribly exciting. So the 2 projects that we're recognizing tonight, I don't have a banner. I do have some certificates here we'll pull out in just a moment. But they are for Rosewood Elementary School, the Library Edition, and another award for the Hayward Career Center Edition. So these 2 projects were recognized by an organization that Raymond and Miles and I actually belong to. It's called the Association for Learning Environments, A4LE. It's a national organization with a very, very strong state chapter. The mission of this organization is very simple: improving the places where children learn. And it's multidisciplinary. This organization has designers, architects, engineers, facilities folks, product reps, all coming together to make our facilities better for children. And they, of course, put this awards program together to recognize the best of class, is the way they say it. So of the projects recognized at the state level, there were 9 of them. So 2 of the 9 are Richland 1 projects. We're terribly proud of that. So, yeah. And I want to recognize in particular my colleagues who made this very possible. This is absolutely a collaboration. Mr. Stewart, if you can stand one armed, was our project manager at Rosewood Elementary School. And Mr. Cooper, Tony Cooper, was our project manager at the Hayward Career Center. Excellent work. And of course, we all do this under the auspices of Mr. Raymond Perkins, who is a tremendous client representative for you. And I'm very, very thankful, Raymond, for the work that we've been doing together over many, many years. So just one more news flash. This actually was just announced about a week ago. We haven't even put our own press release out yet. But Hayward Career Center won the American Institute of Architects South Carolina Chapter Honor Award this year. The only honor award given. That's of every building eligible submitted by architects throughout the state. Great news. So anyway, thank you for this opportunity to share the news with you. Of course, you are the reason, clients are the reason that we can win these awards. We do have these certificates. They're just not as impressive as the banner, Raymond said. You told me I could have done a banner, sir. But these are copies that will be given to the school district to be displayed hopefully in the schools. So, Dr. Witherspoon, good to see you, sir. If I can have some help holding these.
Let's give our leadership another round of applause for those award-winning acknowledgments. All right, as we look at what may be happening in the classroom as far as academics, it is also just as equally important that we offer top-of-the-line facilities for our students to learn in. So we thank everyone who was involved in making sure that we are providing award-winning facilities to our students as we continuously transform their lives through the power of education. Dr. Witherspoon, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly want to echo your sentiments on the levels of facilities that we want to provide for our students. But this starts certainly with the vision and mission of this board in terms of supporting through allocation of funds to move the projects forward that we have are recognizing this evening. So thank you all to that, and certainly thank you to our facility staff for working to bring that vision, if you will, to fruition, working with architects and others. And Mr. Hanley, I know for many of years has spent a lot of time with around energy and so forth. We appreciate his efforts, Ms. Perkins, and the shop. But this recognition is certainly, as you indicated, a means of displaying that we do value certainly our students, and we value the facilities that our students are in for those options and opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Dr. Witherspoon. We now move down to item 6.04, which is public participation. Public participation is offered as a privilege and opportunity for our public to comment on items concerning the district. What we do ask is that when public participation is submitted, that they do not reference, they refrain from referencing employees' names, schools, etc. If that is the case, that comment cannot be read in during public participation. We do have some public participation tonight, and be advised that we will respond to them within 7 to 10 business days. So at this time, I would like to get some assistance from our
Eva Wilson.
I was going to give her some more accolades. She is our executive assistant, but she is such a great help to this board. Mrs. Eva Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Tonight we have 6 submissions, and I will start with the first one. It's from Ms. Felicia Amlett. Good evening. I'm submitting this letter to ask for the ombudsman. We haven't had one for a couple years. Parents don't have any resource in the system or online to get help when they need it. The phone line in the system is very poor. I have been reaching out for weeks, but my ongoing problems, no return calls. As a parent, I have talked to all parties that I need to talk to. No one is returning my phone calls. This new phone system is very poor, goes straight to voicemail. And you can call, no one ever picks up. The system is just poor. You're talking to the operator constantly, never get a live person. I gave dates and times about all of my concerns. My kids wrote complaints that did not get looked into. The system is very poor, no communication, and still not satisfied after I received my letter with no look into any details about my concerns. The second one is from Nick Alton. How does the board feel about the threats and violence displaying across our district, as well as some of the school administration's lack of transparency to district staff, parents, and community members? How do you plan to address these issues, i.e., protecting our students, educators, and staff? Is there anything that requires school administrators to communicate safety issues to the public? It seems as if we hear about and see a lot of incidents from social media before we hear about them from the school, the district, and the media. Sometimes we won't hear anything at all, but see videos on social media. The third is Mary Pullman. I'd ask for you to please reconsider the mask policy for the school district. My 3 children are growing ever more wearisome of wearing masks all day long. Masks have never been as effective as we all wish they would be, and no notable effects are guaranteed other than virtue signaling. Studies have shown the seasonal pattern of this virus and that mask mandates do not prevent community spread. Given that the city of Columbia has dropped their mask mandate in November, it is past time for the school district to do so as well. The kids are not safer being in masks all day, and the choice should have been given back to the parents whether or not their children benefit from them. Please add this item to your next meeting agenda, as next semester should be mask optional. Elizabeth Thabo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. 2 times this year, my child's class has received chicken that is uncooked. This is a common problem across the district. The food preparation needs to return to the individual school cafeteria. Please investigate what is going on at the central kitchen and return the food prep to the individual schools to increase accountability and safety of food. Sheldon Henry. I believe it is unfair no one from District 6 has served a board chair in the last 10 years. White people are not devils and shouldn't be excluded from this position just because there has been a Black majority governing this district with absolute power for over 25 years now. Cheryl Nobles. When is the school district going to drop the mask mandate? COVID and Richland School District 1 schools are at an all-time low. That concludes the participation portion. Chairman Bishop.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, for reading those in. As stated before, we'll respond to you within 7 to 10 business days. We'll now go to item 7, which is consent agenda. 7.1, contract extension, enterprise resource planning ERP software solution. This will be presented by Ms. Houghton. At this time, Ms. Houghton.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration is requesting contract extension to Tyler Technologies to provide ERP software solution, Munis. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Tamika Myers. Any question or discussion? Commissioner King?
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Dr. Witherspoon, when we voted for the new ERP, one of the problems that we were trying to solve were the many different systems that were trying to communicate with one another, and that created a lot of errors, etc. And so when this ERP system was installed, it was as a hub, it was supposed to really reduce errors and streamline the processes, etc. The other issue that we used to have also was that we would pay an exorbitant amount of money for these softwares, yet not utilize some of the modules that would help automate some functions for us. So my question is, we're in the 6th year of this. Are all these points that I just made, have they been addressed? And are we utilizing what we're paying for to its max capacity, and are we tracking the analytics and all of that?
Ms. Matthews Hazel?
Ms. King, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we are utilizing most of the major modules for Munis. Some of the newer ones that came on board that's listed here, those are ready for implementation. Once we had a chance to, during COVID, we had to, priorities took place and we didn't implement them as planned. For example, here we have vendor self-serve. That's one that came available last year. We'll make that available for our customers to contact us. E-procurement, that's another one that a fairly small one that we'll make available, that we can email various departments and external people about procurement issues. And employee expense have to do with travel module, that's in financial services. We have stopped majority of the travel, and we're now beginning to implement travel again due to COVID. So all of that is coming online in July 2022, but all the major modules are live and been live for a couple of years, particularly the new ones such as HR, application module. You asked a question on one module that wasn't efficient. We decided to abandon the Munis application and go to Frontline. You heard Dr. Long speak about that a couple of weeks ago, exactly how that works, the application module. And then that is interface that information to Munis through PSST, which is another company that works with us. So hopefully that answered your questions.
Yeah, and especially that last part, that was one of the issues. I remember when Mr. Black was here, and we did an emergency procurement on Frontline, etc. One of the points that he was raising was, all the interfaces that have to be put in so that two systems can work. So all of a sudden you have 3 vendors, and then everybody's pointing fingers when things are not working. One of the major issue that we've heard about was the interface between the hiring, the frontline, and then the people we hire don't get paid. So the interface with the, payroll Is that all? I mean, does that work?
Well,
Or is
not-
it still a
not-
manual process?
It's not because of the interface. The interface is working like it should. One of the things that Dr. Long mentioned in his training is just in the orientation that we had for the board a couple of weeks ago is just making sure all of our employees understand how to use it. It is fairly new in the district, and once they learn, the system will become more and more efficient. So the interfaces are working as it should. It's just making sure our employees, to make them more knowledgeable through training, to make sure they understand how the process works.
Even do the employees have anything to do with payroll? The
Absolutely. From the beginning, if they apply for a part-time job, it starts with the employee and the supervisor applying for a job, and that happens all the way through the system until they get paid. And a lot of that, like I said before, was touched on a couple of weeks ago when we walked you through that process.
Okay, so the renewal of this is just the main Munis component.
Yes, this has nothing to do with Frontline. These are just the major modules that we have under the Munis,
Okay.
Tyler Munis.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other further discussion or question, we'll now cast our vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. We'll now go to item 8, Office of Operations. I'll be reading item 8.01 to 8.06 without no objection. We will be to pull one out and ask questions during discussion. 8.01, Contract Professional Development, Staff Training. 8.02, Contract Prepackaged Meals for Students. 8.03, Contract Cafeteria Furniture. 8.04, Contract Digital Learning Environment DLE Laptop Computers. 8.05, Contract New District School Bus. 8.06, Contract Construction Manager at-Risk Services for the Carver Lyon Elementary School Addition Phase 3. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Myers. Question or discussion about any of these read-in items? Okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
Well, I guess I'll go in order. I've got questions about the prepackaged meals.
Okay, sure.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear because there was some back and forth before Thanksgiving about this issue as well. How are we informed by the USDA that they will or will not cover holiday or weekend meals?
Good evening. With USDA, this past year and a half has been really very crazy, and so this year for 21-22 school year, USDA has they're transitioning all programs back to what we would consider a normal school year. And so right now we are operating under a program called the Seamless Summer Program, and it is similar to the National School Lunch Guidelines. Last year we were operating under the Summer Food Service Program, which is a little bit different. And therefore the USDA informed us that under the Seamless Summer option, there is not a program that allows for emergency meals to be served for scheduled breaks. However, if there's an emergency situation, then they will be able to implement emergency type meals for Seamless Summer.
All right, and were we able to provide Thanksgiving meals like we are proposing to provide holiday meals during the winter break?
We were not. Unfortunately, with a lot of the supply chain issues that many of us are experiencing, The vendors that we worked with were not all able to meet our guidelines or meet those criteria that we set forth. What we were planning to do was actually provide meals for 13,000 of our students. And the timeline in terms of when we would receive those meals, you have to have adequate storage, you have to turn those meals around and get them out to schools and so forth. It was just simply not enough time based on some of the options that many of the vendors presented to us.
And do you know when we began that process of identifying these vendors for both Thanksgiving and the winter break to provide these meals?
They began, we started having discussions with many of the vendors for emergency type of purposes back in August. We were introduced to one vendor, and when it became a reality that we would like to pursue having meals served during our winter breaks, we started talking with those vendors again, and many of them had other options, but however, for this particular district, we had really very specific criteria that we wanted to make sure that they all met.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Before you go, any other items? Anyone want to question the same item on this agenda? I'll come back to you, okay, Commissioner Romanek, for your other items.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris, anything you want to ask about
Thank you.
8.02?
I actually did not have a question, I actually had a comment,
Okay.
and I wanted to thank Ms. Dixon for bringing in the boxes and allowing the board to see what our children would be taking home. I really appreciate that, because I think that is very important. Unfortunately, we were not able to get what we wanted done in time enough for Thanksgiving, but the longer break, Christmas break, thank God we're able to provide it with the vote. We'll be able to provide meals for our children during the holidays. One of the things that I think is quite burdensome to a board member is knowing during the breaks, the holidays, or what have you, we have children that don't eat because their source of nourishment and nutrition comes from the school district. So when we are not in session, it is good to know that meals are being provided for those children that need it. So I just wanted to thank you. I had a chance to go through the box. The box looks very good. And I'm just very appreciative as a board member to see the district taking the steps necessary to ensure that our children have food while they're out during their Christmas break. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions about 8.02? Commissioner King.
Hi, Ms. Dixon. I was looking at the box and I saw those these like turkey sandwiches of some sort.
The frozen box or the shelf stable box?
The frozen ones. They were cold, so I guess.
Yes. No, they weren't sandwiches. Those are actual prepared meals. For example, one meal may be turkey and dressing, and it has vegetables as well that accompany those particular entrees.
So when you distribute those, they're frozen?
Yes.
And do the families need to keep it frozen, or is there a temperature at which they have to maintain the food at least?
Yeah, and there's some instructions as well on the box to maintain them frozen until they're ready to use them. And that's one of the other logistical things that we have to keep in mind when we're distributing those meals. So we are delivering them to schools just in time. For example, we have another shipment in the morning, and we will immediately turn those meals around to schools and secure them so that at dismissal, those meals are still frozen and they can dismiss with those meals.
Okay. And what do you do with the leftover food that is not picked up by families?
Yes, we have a plan in place. I've talked with Tony Kelly Campbell, and after the break, we're going to put a plan together in terms of how we will utilize those meals for families that are in need. Oftentimes I get telephone calls from various schools or social work services to provide meals, and unfortunately under USDA, I cannot just provide those meals. And so the meals, if we have any left over, that is the plan, to be able to utilize those meals for emergency type of purposes. We had a fire here recently. I don't know if they're Richland 1 students, but that would be a perfect example for being able to provide those meals for families that are in need.
So I know this is kind of the weed stuff, but I mean it would be a logical question. So you distribute the meals while the kids are like on the last day of school or something like that? Do you stay open for a couple of days, and for the emergency purposes, let's say it's December 29th, do you have somebody that can respond to those emergencies if you've got inventory left?
Well, I'm always available. I don't know if you've ever tried to call, but we do. We do have processes in place, and I also want to encourage everyone to utilize our feedback line, because we do check those messages as well, and respond timely. But I'm speaking more to those families that do come through our social work services or through our parent engagement team, or school may identify a particular family that may be in need. I'm speaking more in terms of that. We do have our central kitchen facility where we can house those items and keep them secured for a longer period of time so that they can be used as needed.
Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
No other questions about 8.02? Commissioner Lomanak, your next item.
8.04, the digital learning environment. I just have maybe it's my misunderstanding. I've just got a question about the math.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
And again, this really might be my misunderstanding, but it really caught my attention. I was looking at the unit price for the 3rd and 6th grade. The Dell Latitude 3120 is $220 something per unit, and then I noticed the 3310 Dells were listed as almost $1,400. So that caught my attention, and I realized I can't seem to make the math work out when I look at quantity, unit price, and total for each of those rows. And I don't know if there's an explanation, or maybe it's just a typo that we need to fix.
I believe that is a typo. I can get the corrected numbers to you.
That would be great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about this said item? All right, Commissioner Lomanak, any other items you need to address?
8.07.
No, we're not there yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Is that it for your?
8.0. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on any other items from anyone of the commissioners? Commissioner King.
I do. So, I guess it's more like Dr. Witherspoon. On 806, so we're adding 18 classes. What's the school? How many kids do we have at Culver Lion right now?
I don't have that particular number in front of me right now, but I know, and Mr. Perkins can come up, and also Dr. Hagwood has been working. Certainly, this is a part of what's going on with that, with the language immersion program that's there, and where this configuration works. And through the program, there's the target language, and there's also an English. So there's some pairing up that gets to the number of classrooms and how that works. Ms. Perkins.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
The number of classrooms that are being added is actually 12, not 18. And so that's based on the needs that was discussed and what they have in place. So we went through that process to get that.
So, Mr. Perkins, do you off the top of your head, do you remember what the attendance is right now at Culver Lion and the split between traditional and the immersion program?
No, ma'am. I do not remember that, or do not have that information in front of me, but we can certainly get that information to you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, any other questions about the said item? If not, let us cast our vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Item 8.07, retention payment for employees, presented by Mr. Ed Carlin and Dr. Long.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration requests approval of retention payment for employees. As part of the employment retention strategy, the administration requests approval to provide a one-time retention payment of $1,000 net to all current full-time employees. Permanent part-time employees will receive a one-time retention of $500 net. In order to be eligible to receive the retention payment, employees must be employed with the district on or before December 6, 2021 to receive the December 17, 2021 payment. Long-term subs are included. One half the payment will be issued on December 17, 2021, and the other half will be issued on or before May 31st, 2022. Employees must be employed on or before May 23rd, 2022 to receive the May 31st payment. The administration is requesting reallocation of a portion of the fiscal year 2021 general fund balance. The estimated amount of this request is $6 million. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation, administration, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
We'll move by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion? Think, Commissioner Longman, you had a question already?
Yes. I just wondered, I realize this is part of our retention plan. Along the similar lines, I'm wondering if we're also looking at the difference between our salary schedules and neighboring districts. For example, Lexington 1, for a teacher with a number of years of experience, they will get $10,000 more than our current salary schedule. So I'm wondering if we're also taking a look at seeing if we can start to match the salary schedules in addition to things like the retention bonus.
Dr. Long?
Yes, that is one of the things we're considering doing. Yeah, because we've got some other spots where we're kind of out of balance with our salary table.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I saw Commissioner Harris' hand, then I got Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the questions, Mr. Carlin, this is an estimated amount. Is this the estimated amount for just the December payment, or is December and the May?
December and May.
Okay, where will that leave our fund balance?
That would, we have a one-time amount above the 8.5% of $34 million, and that would take us down about $28 million,
To what
which
now?
is about $28 million, which is about the same as the 8.5%.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner King, then Commissioner Devine.
Thank you. So I had to reread this. Obviously, a huge supporter of retaining and attracting people. That's crucial. But as I read this, Dr. Long and Dr. Witherspoon, the more I read it, and the less I see that it is really a targeted retention and recruitment strategy, because this applies to all employees. Is that right? All employees? So you, Dr. Long, y'all included in that, is that right?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
This $1,000,
It applies to all employees.
like you,
Yes.
and the
All
superintendent,
Not the superintendent.
No,
not the
no,
superintendent?
ma'am. No, ma'am. He's on a separate contract, remember?
But all administrators? So apart from the superintendent, all employees. And that's what I'm trying to reconcile is if we're really targeting, we know that we're really hurting from in recruiting teachers. So we know we need to do some money into attracting teachers. We have our custodians, that's a huge issue. Our bus drivers, even our student nutrition people. I mean, we know the areas where we're hurting. You know, I'm not sure that at the district level, I haven't heard that was an issue. And so, do you know what the amount it would be for really all those professions, the teachers and the bus drivers and the custodians and all the areas that are where we're really having an issue retaining and recruiting versus what will go to administrators in the district office employees, where
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you. The vast majority of employees in the district are in the other than district office administrators. Vast majority. And what this is an attempt to do, you know, districts all over the state, districts all over the country, given the time that we have, and we will be presenting recruitment and retention efforts and plan early in next calendar year. But what districts all over have been doing in terms of these types of incentives is to look at, again, all employees. They're just saying, well, and this is, and as was just mentioned in terms of salary schedules and so forth, being competitive, especially at the upper end or what have you, we always look at that, and this is where this piece is. We know, you know, our neighboring districts and certainly across the state, as they've looked at this, it's been, you know, recruitment intention, but also across the board, if you, the work and stressors and that type of thing. So this is the approach for this particular item, as others have done.
okay, well, I guess the way I see it is this is really a bonus for all employees. But I really want to concentrate on we know that there's some very specific jobs that we have to put in all of our efforts on retention and recruitment. So that's not it, because this is across the board. So, and this is where I struggle a little bit, because, you know, if we're really not struggling to find administrators, and you tell me, you know, out of this $6 million, you know, 4 million or 5 million is going to go to really the people that we want to recruit, the teachers, all the professions that I listed. But, you know, $1 million is going into the district office. I'm thinking, maybe who could use that $1 million to really recruit the other guys that we really need to attract and retain. So anyway, that is just food for thought. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Point of clarification: is this a retention bonus or a reclamation? I mean, recruitment. Ms. Carla or Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes.
Just retention or?
Yeah, Commissioner Devine, we would certainly look at it both ways. If we have, again, neighboring districts and folks that are doing this, or if you will, and we don't, or not competitive in that and the like, that could very well be a retention issue. It could be very well be a recruitment issue. Depends on how you look at it.
All right. But your statement says it's retention payment for employees. So to me, it's a retention payment, which means to retain or to maintain what you currently have.
That would be correct.
Okay. So my point being, everybody contributes to the success of the organization. So if everybody contributes to the success of the organization, you want to maintain what you have to continue for the next school term, knowing that you will at least maintain where you have. We know some folk will leave for various reasons. That's okay. And we know we already have a recruiting bonus for bus drivers. I think you all have recruiting apparatus or mechanism for others that want to come to our district, like early recruitment with some of our teachers. We have some of those bonuses, some of those that are coming to us early. So this is, to me, a retention to maintain. This, to me, inspires employee morale to say that everybody contributed to the organization to maintain what they have and to keep us where we are going with the goal set from this board down to our one employee, the superintendent, who then sets it to appropriate staff at the cabinet level, who takes it in to the EDs and take it on down, so forth and so on. So again, I see it as a retention, which means to maintain or to continue to have what you have in order to make sure that everybody contributes to the organization. So my question to this administration is, why break it into two when we could do it at one time?
We could break it in, we could pay it in one time. We felt that a lot of the staff, not all, but most of the staff would appreciate getting some before winter break. And then we wanted to pay the rest of it at the end of the year.
Okay, all right, very good, and I'm fine with that. And Ms. Harris had another question in regards to the total dollar amount. So thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. I'll give you my time back.
All right, any other comments, questions? Okay, Commissioner Clyburn.
So my question, I don't know if this will be directed towards Dr. Long or not, but Commissioner King brought up the point the $1,000 being also attributed to a position like yours. What is, do we have the number, and I'm sure we do have the number, but what is the number of administrators in your position, across the board, across the district? Do we have that particular number?
There these folks sitting here.
Okay, so that'll be about 10 or
1, 2, 3. I mean, if you're depending on the level, Commissioner Clyburn, we have chiefs of department heads. There's some executive directors. You see, if you're talking about that level, most of them are here as a part of this.
Okay, so that I'll be generous and say that'll be about $15,000. If we were just to up it.
Somewhere in there without writing down everyone, but to your point, yes, ma'am, in terms of as I said earlier, the vast majority of this is other than.
Okay. Now I just wanted to.
Right.
I knew it was going to be that low. I just wanted to kind of bring that up to a point because I didn't want the public or anyone to, leave this meeting thinking $1 million or even $100,000 was going to be going towards top level, administrators. So, that can be misunderstood in that way, but maybe you weren't trying to make that point. I just wanted to make that clear to, the public. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll just be real brief. Just to echo the sentiments of what Mr. Devine stated earlier, this is a retention bonus to retain who we have. And I wouldn't give it a second thought to slight any member of this team on an opportunity to receive a bonus of retention that you've been here with us, you've stuck with us, and we honor that through this retention bonus, and we're going to make sure that everyone receives that. We can't look at anyone's position, whether it's in an office setting or whether it's the troopers that's in the cafeteria monitoring students. Everybody plays a part. Who are we to say that the eyes are less important than the knees, or the knees are less important than the toes? Lose a toe and you won't even have a balance. We have to make sure that we incentivize all of our employees, because I can tell you this, a statement that I've made a whole lot, and I'll use the bus drivers. Let the bus drivers decide not to come to work. You have no students to teach. Well, let the top level administration don't come in and do the due diligence that has to happen as the brain trust of the district, and it can collapse the district. So we have to find value in everybody's role in this district. Even though we may slight folk in their positions, they are very important. So just echoing the sentiments of what Mr. Devine said earlier, this is small. We wish it could be bigger than this because it's deserving. We're operating in a pandemic, and I think sometimes we forget that. But I can't put value or price tag on hard work. And I appreciate Richland One and all that they've done to navigate us through these mucky waters that we've had to navigate through over the past 22 months. So just wanted to share that comment, Mr. Chair, because I think it's important that our Richland One family don't feel like we don't think they're worthy of this bonus because of where they sit. All are part. All are part. You might not be the brains, you may just be the eyes, but you're still a part of this team. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you for the comments. I have one question. And can anyone hear me? Prayerfully, this is not the issue. However, you're saying that the decision will be on December 21st, correct? 17th.
17.
If someone does not get their bonus, who do they contact?
The chair.
Because the chair, the way my bank account is set up, it may not be the one. But yes, who do they contact? Because they will reach out to the Board of Commissioners.
Supervisor, director, of myself.
They will say that again because your mic went out.
They can contact the payroll supervisor, director, or myself.
Is that a number or email?
We can put in
We
the
will
letter
include that
we
in
sent
the-
out.
in
It
the
could be in the email or a phone number. We do have the payroll number published.
All right, please be advised that you have been advised who to contact just in case you don't get your payment, all right? Your retention payment. Thank you so much. I think we're now ready to go for the vote. All right, let us vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Thank you, Richland One. We're now down to item 9, Office of Human Resources. We're at 9.01, Administrative Hire, Dr. Long.
Mr. Chair, Board of Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon, good evening. The administration recommends hiring James Edward Brown to the position of Director of Safety, Security, and Emergency Services. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Dr. Long, I've got some questions, partly because this is my first involvement with hiring a director, but also I think there's just some general information I think the public should probably know as well. Obviously, this is an important position today, probably more than ever. When was this job originally posted?
In December of 2019.
All right, and how many applicants applied for the job?
159.
And how many were interviewed?
I don't remember how many were interviewed.
When and was the posting of this job announcement ever pulled?
No.
So it was left open from 2019 until when?
It's still open now.
Okay. And when you interview folks, is there a particular panel? Is it the same folks that interview all the candidates?
For this position, it was.
And is there some sort of rating scale or something that the interviewers maintain?
They use a rating scale.
And is there a way for those notes and ratings to be provided to us, since we obviously aren't part of the interview process?
I don't know if that's something that should be provided to you, because it could create some issues.
What type of issues?
Well, you're getting into the operations of the school district when you get into hiring and reviewing interview notes.
Well, so is the person that you're recommending we hired, did he score the highest on these rating scales?
That's the person who is the best qualified person.
But did he
before you? Yes, he scored the highest.
He did
On the
score the
rating,
highest.
Yes.
And is there a reason, I mean, I realize that you don't want us to get involved in the weeds too much in operations, but we're being asked to approve the hire of the Director of Security and Safety of the district, and the only thing we've been provided is a CV that he obviously prepared. That's it. So, I mean, you're just asking us to rubber stamp your request. I mean, we don't have any other information.
Well, you don't get any other information for anyone else that we hire as administrators. You don't get that much of information for when we hire teachers.
Well, do we have panel interviews with notes and rating scales for teachers?
Yes, they do have panel interviews for some of them, and some of them the principal interviews on their own.
Do you provide them rating scales that they turn in?
They have rating scales. They have to do interview notes also.
I think it'd be great for us to have those too when we're asked to hire teachers. I've never seen those. I certainly didn't have a rating scale when I interviewed teachers along with principals. But there is a little bit of a difference, right, between hiring teachers, especially when we have 83 vacancies, and hiring the Director of Security and Safety, where we've interviewed, you don't know how many people or can't remember, but we obviously interviewed more than just him, and there are notes, and yet all we've been provided the CV. I will say that I knew more about the Hall of Fame inductees before they were inducted than I do about this proposed hire. And that's concerning.
Commissioner Lomanak, please allow Dr. Witherspoon to respond to some of your inquiries.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Chairman Bishop. This is the same process that is used at the administrative level that we've been exercising, and the districts exercise historically and traditionally, whether it's the safety and security position or any other administrative position. So we work that process, provide the recommendation to the board at this particular juncture, and again across, whether it's any position, safety and security, what have you, other positions as well.
Well, I guess we're being asked to be involved and vote. We're going to get emails if the person turns out to not be very good, and we're going to get blamed just as much as anybody else, and yet we don't have any information to really go on other than a CV. That is the definition of a rubber stamp. And I think while the board does not need to get involved and be present for the interviews and get involved in the day-to-day operations of the school, there's a big difference between that and us being provided a CV and that's it. We don't get CVs of any of the other candidates. We don't have any comparisons. I have no idea what this director's philosophy is about law enforcement in schools, the role of mental health counselors in security and safety of schools, any of that. And that's a little bit disconcerting because it really does place us in the position of literally being a rubber stamp. And I think the board is more than just that, even though we aren't the day-to-day administrators. So, I would actually move that we delay this vote so that we can be provided some more information about the other candidates, or at least more information about this candidate's beliefs about security and safety, and some of his answers to the interview. So I would move that we delay this vote until we can get that information.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Lomanak to delay the vote, second by Commissioner King. Question or discussion about this motion? Commissioner Harris and Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I've got a few questions because it's interesting. Dr. Long, when we hire, I'm gonna call out some positions, EDs, Chief of Staff, Chief of Teaching and Learning, Research, Accountability. Do you give interview notes to the board? First of all, I don't want the notes, but do you give us the notes?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you provide the board with the resume of this candidate?
Yes, ma'am.
That showed us, close to 20 years as a director of security in various school districts, very similar to ours? Did you not provide that for us?
Yes, ma'am. You have the resume.
Okay. I'm a yield right now. Because the question that I have is the delaying of a vote to get notes. I don't want notes. You all are making a recommendation to the board because it is your responsibility to do all the trench work. I don't do the trench work. You come to me and you provide to me as a board member who you feel is the most capable, most experienced, most trained, maybe most suitable, I don't know, candidate for Richland 1. Is that what you provided for us today?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I need. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too been on this board for quite some time, hired many people. Let me be clear. I don't rubber stamp anything from this district, okay? Never have, never will. Now, if I have questions in committee, I will ask, or I will ask the superintendent questions. Our job tonight is to vote up or vote down the judgment of the administration. School Boarding 101, you learn that when you go to training. No disrespect to my colleague, Mr. Lomanak, but when you go and you get the training, you will understand that. So either we can vote it up or we vote it down. But there has to be some trust between the school board and the administration. We have to respect the judgment of the administration. Ms. Harris has said it clearly. We've voted on many other positions in this district. We never had notes. We've gotten the same information for 13 years that I've been on the board. We got a curriculum vitae, or we got a resume for that particular person. And we trust the judgment of our administration. Now, we have one employee, the superintendent. We have to hold him accountable to ensure that these persons do their jobs on a daily basis. And whatever criteria that the board sets, not individuals, but that the board sets to hold the superintendent accountable, that's what we must do. Every position that comes here is important to the school district. It's a value judgment. We've used this process time and time again. Nothing has changed over the 13 years that I've been here. And we must respect the judgment of the administration, who we then hold accountable to what happens within the school district. Again, we have to be careful not to undermine employee morale to say that one position is higher than the next position. And to leave this position vacant is definitely a mistrust, in my opinion, of this board. Let me reiterate again. I don't rubber stamp anything from this administration. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield.
All right, Commissioner Devine, any other comments? Commissioner Clyburn.
So Commissioner Devine actually touched on what I was going to bring up about us having one employee who we evaluate. We take notes and we review those notes and grade him accordingly. And we vote to hire him or fire him. So the appropriateness of what's being suggested, I think, is highly inappropriate. But I have a question about process. And maybe this is a question for, some other people that have been here way longer than I have and been through way more training. But as far as board responsibility, neighboring districts across the state, districts in other states, I'm not aware of any process where we get in those kinds of weeds, or you cherry pick one position and say we want to review notes or review the grading scale for. Is that something that is proper or has been done in any other neighboring district? Or I I would be more concerned with being sued. You know, some kind of legal jeopardy that we could put ourselves in by either, showing some kind of favoritism or unfavoritism. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm just saying, it could be highly inappropriate to do something like that, especially when it may be unprecedented to even do. So that would be my concern. Another concern of mine is if the seven of us start to delve into those kinds of issues, would we may possibly be looked at as, maybe we have someone that we want to be in that position, or because I don't know this person personally. I got to know, some things about him, in the last few weeks, but I don't know him personally. But can we be looked at as saying, oh, we want to, pick this particular position out because do we know someone that we would prefer to see in that position? So I'm totally highly against that, but just because of the perception. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Clyburn, any other comments? You haven't spoken yet, right, Ms. King? Ms. King, then I want to say something.
There's only one director of safety, security, and emergency management. The current one has been in this position for a really, really long time. This position is a high visibility from the public. I totally agree with Mr. Lominac in saying that we need to know more about the candidates. We have very little, and this is not a person who was in a director position. He was an employee. I have concerns based on the resume that I've seen. It is totally fair to express concerns, and I also personally have concerns about the process. And so I don't think that asking for the rating scales is inappropriate at all. Those are public documents. They can be FOIA'd, okay? So it doesn't give somebody social security number or anything like that. We're a government agency, okay? So school board members should have access to just about anything they want. I mean, case law just proves it time and time again. I think it's unreasonable. It's not getting into the weeds. This is a really important position. And if somebody tells me, why did you vote yes or why did you vote no, I'll be able to say. There is very little information on this, and just to keep it open for another couple of weeks until we come back, I mean, it's been open since December of 2019. Come on, I mean, I would have thought that it would have been already filled. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner King, you're spot on with one particular objective evaluation of this process. I want to ask again. Dr. Long, this position has been open since when?
Since 2019.
All right, so 2019, 2020, we're in 2021. So are you telling everyone in here and the public that you all have been interviewing and searching for 3 calendar years?
It's actually been 2.
Excuse me?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years.
Yes.
So this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, this overnight decision.
No, sir.
You all have pretty much interviewed a number of people who applied, which I see objectively you said 159 people applied.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pause right there. I think I got Commissioner Lominac, and then I got Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Chairman Devine. I do want to note one thing, because I think there was an incorrect statement made a minute ago. This individual has been a director for less than 2 years and has no prior director experience at any school district. And I do want to say, I do take the school board role seriously, and because I am new, I have been reading. And even before I go to the state mandated conference in February to learn about my role, I've been reading our policies, and here's one of them. It's on the Richland One website. The board has final authority within the law of the operation of the schools. No section of these policies and procedures may be construed to limit the statutory powers of the board to exercise its own judgment. I think we deserve more information about this individual. I think that includes other panelists' recommendations based on their ratings. I think that's consistent with the policies and our role. I realize that others may differ, and that's part of the process, as people keep saying. But I disagree that us getting a CV and voting yes or no is a very informed decision, and anything other than a rubber stamp. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Lomanak. Commissioner Head.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. The hiring of personnel follows laws. Am I correct, Dr. Long?
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of those laws supersede the authority and power of the board. We have to follow state, federal laws, etc. And we also have to protect the process in which we hire, because we have to be careful when a candidate has been identified, how we proceed from that point, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
For their protection as well. That's the one thing I wanted to say. Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask at this time that you clarify the vote on whether or not we suspend the vote, and then I'm going to ask that you call for the vote.
The statement was, and the motion was a delay of the vote by Commissioner Lomanak, second by Commissioner King. It was a delay. That is the action on the table at this point. And now we need to, you have called for the vote? Yes. Okay, question. All those in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, calling for a vote.
Yeah, Michelle, you have to be second, sorry, right? Okay, it's been called for the vote. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Vine. Yeah, it's correct, right? Parliamentary rules. So we need to vote on the call for the vote. All right? The motion to delay. Thank you all. Thank you for letting teamwork make the dream work. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Or nay? Let's clarify that vote one more time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Bishop, excuse me.
Who's that?
She had it.
That was for the previous.
What's on the screen is for the original motion.
Yes. We had a, yes, we had the amended vote. So this one has to be delayed. To delay that Commissioner Lomanak motion. No. The initial main motion was to hire, according to the recommendation of administration. Lomanak gave a motion to delay. So you want to do electronically, what you're saying?
What I'm saying is the vote that Mr. Lomanak made.
It is his motion.
For more information. He made the motion. It's been seconded.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. All right. A yea is in support of the motion by Commissioner Lomanak. A nay is in opposition.
Okay, mine went right.
All right, let's clarify the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is Robert Lomanak. That is Beatrice King. All those in opposition of delaying it? Say nay. I got Angela Clyburn. I got Cheryl Harris, Jamie Devine, Tamika Myers, Aaron Bishop. That is a 5-2 vote. Motion fails. Back to the original motion. We can do this electronically. Yes, ma'am. You're doing it electronically.
disappeared on me.
All right? Thank you for your hard work and dedication, Ms. Wilson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let me clarify that vote. Tamika Myers, Jeremy Devine, Cheryl Hinton Harris, Angela Clyburn, Aaron Bishop. All those opposed?
No.
Commissioner King, Beatrice King, Robert Lomanak. That is a 5-2 vote. The ayes have it. Thank you for the process. Okay, Dr. Long, we have 9.02, hiring of personnel.
The administration recommends hiring the teachers on the attached list for the 2021-2022 year. There are 4 teachers listed. And for the 2022-2023 year, there's 1 teacher. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote.
Chairman Bishop,
Yes.
I'm getting a different vote on my screen.
You want to qualify your vote? What is your vote?
Yes.
You got a yes from Robert Lomanak. So, Ms. King is out.
I just say that because I'm getting a 10.02 vote on my screen.
I also received the same thing.
All right, you want to do it manually for this one? We're at 9.02.
That's right. What's on my screen is 10.02. That's why.
Yes, sir. Technology. Isn't that something?
Okay.
Yes. Second by Commissioner Harris.
Okay, this is it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a 6-0 vote. 6-0 vote, and let it be known, 1 board member not present. All right, we're now going down to the office of the board. 10.01, 2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, presented by Matthew Hazel.
Good evening, Board Chair, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. The administration is requesting your approval of the fiscal year ended 2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. An executive summary of the annual report was presented to all 3 board committees last week. Malden Jenkins, the district external CPA firm, has reported an unmodified opinion or a clean audit opinion of the district financial statements. There were no material weaknesses in internal controls over major programs and no instances of non-compliance which are material to the basic financial statement. Mrs. Arnett Evan is the district project director for the audit. And tonight we have Mrs. Taylor Harvey with Malden Jenkins CPA firm present tonight in case you have any questions of the auditors. The administration recommends approval.
You heard the recommendation of administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion about this item? Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. Thank you, Ms. Matthews Hazel, for your report. Just a few questions, same ones that asked in committee meeting. were there any findings or any corrections that need to be made to this audit for this year?
I have the auditor, she would be able to answer that question more appropriately since they would have made the adjustments.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There were no issues this year, no findings, no concerns.
Right. Did we have to make any significant audit entries before or during the audit?
No, we did not.
Right. And so, just to be clear one more time, we did have a clean audit opinion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Ms. Matthews Hazel, what year is this of receiving the Government Financial Award?
We're in the 30-something year.
33rd?
33rd consecutive year.
All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Ms. Chairman.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. We're now to item 10.02, request to hear student appeal. Dr. Smalls.
Chairman Bishop, Board of Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration is requesting an appeal to be granted for the initials MM on the behalf of the initials WC. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Clyburn. Oh, that was Commissioner Myers. Okay, it was moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Clyburn. All right, question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Let us cast our vote. It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. We're now at item 10.03, 2022 Legislative Platform, presented by Ms. Karen York.
Thank you and good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Witherspoon. Each year, the district develops a legislative platform that includes position statements on key education-related issues that have or could have an impact on Richland One. Tonight, we are presenting our 2022 legislative platform for adoption, and this item was taken to all 3 board committees for review and discussion. And I'll note that one change was made since those board committee meetings, and that is under education funding. We changed the position on state funding for teacher salaries to reflect our belief that teacher salaries should meet or exceed the Southeastern average, not just be competitive with surrounding states. So, Mr. Chair, the administration recommends approval of our 2022 legislative platform. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Excuse me, Commissioner Devine?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. York, for this legislative update and legislative session. Just for observation, we did have a legislative delegation meeting scheduled on last week. However, due to the House meeting about vaccines, vaccination, we did not have that meeting. We're planning to meet hopefully in January with the delegation, and that's per our chairman, Leon Howard. And so he and I had a conversation. So we're going to try to hopefully meet with the delegation again. Once we get this finalized, present this to them, and we'll have ongoing conversations with them about the Richland One platform and how it will pertain and help us in Richland School District 1. So again, thank you so much for this. I look forward to the final copies. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Devine. Commissioner Harris.
Commissioner.
You covered it. All right. further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
Just one question. I asked about this at the committee hearing as well. Under the heading education funding, there's a paragraph about the quote new funding bill, and I just want to. It's a pretty scary paragraph because it involves a loss of a lot of money. But I just wanted to make clear, or correct me if I'm wrong. There is not a pending funding bill before the legislature that would result in a $75 million loss for us. Is that right?
Out there, I think it was 2 years ago, and in anticipation that it could come back, I just want to, state the fact that that particular bill would not suit us very well.
No, and I understand that. I just don't want someone reading this thinking there's a bill right now that's pending, that's new, that would result in this sort of loss. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Lomanak. Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to clarify, at our advocacy meeting that we just had with the legislators, I believe there is a bill that's been pre-filed. Can't remember who it was, but they're talking about the Act 388 and all that stuff in the funding bill. So there is something that has been pre-filed. I just don't know all of the details, Mr. Carlin. But I can definitely, I think Mr. Devine probably can look to check to see who that was that brought that up in the session that we just had in Myrtle Beach, in Charleston.
Go ahead, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you. I'm looking at Senate Bill, I think it's 925, would enact the South Carolina Tax Policy Modernization Act to overhaul the state's tax system, and that kind of goes in line with what this paragraph is speaking to. It's kind of a carryover from a previous bill, I think it was 2 years ago, Mr. Carlin. Yeah.
All right, I think I'm seeing Robert Lomanak. You position yourself?
No, I'm okay.
All right. No other question or discussion? Come on, y'all. Let's go ahead and take our vote. It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. The next three items we'll take independent of each other. But before I read the items, I just want to let everyone know this is a very democratic process. We can't undermine democracy as a board of commissioners. When we think about the evaluation of who we elect as a board, that evaluation is according to a person's perspective of someone's leadership, as well as their board relationships, internally, externally. So therefore, as we look at this process that happens annually, we want to definitely consider this a fair process that we take very seriously, because the people that we select in these leadership positions will represent not only this board but also Richland 1. And so therefore, as each one of us are duly elected from our communities, we're here to also elect those who will be in our Board of Commissioners as these three positions. So therefore, with that being said, I do declare that item 10.04 allows us to take a election of the Board of Commissioners for the position of chairman, which is now open. So therefore, we now entertain any nominations for chairman, a chairperson. Okay, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. I nominate Commissioner Cheryl Harris.
Is there a second? Yes, Commissioner.
Well, Mr. Bishop, I listened very careful to what you said.
Are you here to second? Because we have a nomination.
No, I'm actually asking you to nominate me as chair. I supported you, and I view myself as a great choice. Running meetings is, I've seen for 9 years. And so, yeah, I'm asking you to nominate me.
I decline.
Okay.
According to what you did December 8th, 2020, when you were up for leadership, is a position, it's on the record, for Secretary Treasurer. So the same way you declined, I declined.
Okay.
Not only that, you declined to vote for me last year as chairman. So I return the favor.
Well,
is there a second?
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
I would like to second it.
All right, there's a second for the nomination for Cheryl Harris.
Yes, for Cheryl Harris as chair.
All right, is there any other nominations?
Mr.
All right,
Bishop,
Commissioner.
I'd like to then ask Ms. Harris to nominate me. I supported her twice. And besides, I supported you once. I declined last year because I felt like you just said, what you just said is essentially saying.
Are you making a nomination?
No. I look, you made a statement, so I have a right to make a statement
You
too,
sure
right?
do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's good chairmanship right there, okay?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that I find it very offensive
What's
to suggest that every person who has had 3 positions were not leaders and worthy of the position.
Excuse me, repeat yourself.
You said that this process is fair and it is made according.
It's a democracy. It's a democracy.
Right.
You can't undermine democracy.
Right, and
you cannot
for 15
sit here and
years,
suppress
C3
people's
has
votes.
not had
You can't suppress people's
that
votes.
position.
Each one of these commissioners
What a coincidence.
have their own vote. So respect people's voices to vote for who they want to vote for.
Mr. Bishop, I supported you.
Yes, you did, and you did not support me.
I supported Ms. Harris. I supported Mr. Devine.
But you did not support me.
You're right, because
That's right.
you would not. You're not.
So
supporting
therefore,
me.
I returned your favor.
Well, you could support me once, and we'd be even.
I said, no, we won't.
Excuse me, Mr. Bishop.
Yes.
I would like to say I had second Ms. Cheryl Harris for the chair.
You did? Is there other nomination? Is there a call to close?
I nominate Ms. King for chair.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there is a second. All right, we have 2 nominations on the floor. Any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close on the 2 said names to go ahead and vote on those 2 said names, please.
All right, the 2 said second. It's been second. Thank you. There are 2 names on the slate for chairperson. The first name is Cheryl Harris, and the second name is Commissioner Beatrice King. Okay? Are you still following this, Miss Wilson?
Who seconded the motion that Mr.
I did.
Oh.
What's self-serving? Let's not lose our sense of humor.
Yes. We will qualify this vote. Okay? All those in favor of the nomination of Cheryl Harris as chairperson, raise your hand so we can identify yourself. I got Tamika Myers, Jamie Devine, Cheryl Harris, Angela Clyburn, Aaron Bishop. All right, all those for the nomination of Beatrice King for chairperson, raise your hand so I can qualify the vote. I got Beatrice King, Robert Lomanak. I believe the 5-2 vote is registered in favor of Commissioner Harris to be our next chairperson for 2022. Congratulations. We're now at item 10.05. We now declare the position of vice chair to be open. Are there any nominations for vice chair? Yes, Commissioner Harris.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Ms. Angela Clyburn for vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by, any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
Well, I'd like to nominate maybe Miss Myers for vice chair.
All right, is there a second? Is there a second? Dies for lack of a second. All right, is there a closing of the nominations at this time?
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the nominations.
All right, the nominations are closed according to the second by Commissioner Devine. With no opposition for that position. Congratulations. We had never, no opposition, so it is a 7-0 vote. It's not a 7-0 vote? Still take the vote? Okay, all those in favor for Commissioner Clyburn, let's qualify the vote. Raise your hand. Commissioner Myers, Tamika Myers, Jamie Devine, Cheryl Harris, Angela Clyburn, Beatrice King, Robert Lomanak, Aaron Bishop. 7-0 vote. All right, we're now down to item 10.06.
Wait, congratulations to
Oh,
Ms.
congratulations, Commissioner Clyburn, Vice Chairman for 2022. Also, now we're at item 10.06, which is the board elections for office of Secretary Treasurer, which will be now declared vacant. Are there any nominations at this time?
Yes, I nominate Commissioner Tamika Myers.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. Any other nominations at this time? Any other nomination at this time? Is there entertainment? Is Jamie Devine seconded? It was nominated by.
Lomanak and King.
I think.
And Devine and everybody.
It don't matter. That's fine. It don't matter.
You pick.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close on said name for the office that is open at this time, Secretary Treasurer.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Lomanak to close the nominations. No opposition. We still need to vote. Let's clarify the vote by raising hand. All those in favor? Tamika Myers, Jamie Devine, Cheryl Harris, Angela Clyburn, Beatrice King, Robert Lomanak, Aaron Bishop. It is a 7-0 vote. Congratulations, Ms. Myers. The offices for 2022, which is chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, treasurer, has been filled for 2022. Congratulations to all of those who have been elected. And also let me say this for a moment of privilege and liberty. Thank you all for allowing me to serve you for this year. To Commissioner Jamie Devine, who handed me the baton as he definitely took on COVID as a leader in this district and gave me that responsibility to keep navigating through this as a part of this team. Thank you. That teamwork still makes the dream work. I appreciate each and every one of you all. This is a board, so therefore there are times when we agree and times we don't agree. But it's for the children. It's for the community, and I appreciate you all being supportive during this time. We now go to item 10.07, which is the board report. This is a time for anyone on our board of commissioners to report anything out, bring something out for discussion at this time. Okay, Commissioner Devine, then Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Just a few observations from my desk. Dr. Witherspoon, I'm not sure who this goes to. As we discussed vacancies in the education industry, particularly in Richland School District 1, do we have teacher cadet programs at each of our high schools to help mitigate or have a pipeline for young teachers coming through in the next several years?
We do, Commissioner Devine, and now Dr. Broussard would elaborate on that, please.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners and Dr. Witherspoon. There are 3 active teacher cadet courses available for our high schools, and each school offers at least one of these courses. All of these are dual enrollment courses as well, I should note. And this means that the students who do indeed move on to college with the hopes of becoming a teacher already have a head start on college credit. It's my understanding that one of the schools right now does not have any students who signed up for the course, but I believe we have around 60 students who are in teacher cadet programs across the district. I'll also share with you that we began an initiative through our Thrive Richland program where we are providing micro-credential training for instructional assistants. Those micro-credentials are recognized by Midlands Technical College, and we have an articulation agreement with Midlands Tech, and those students can actually transfer to the University of South Carolina as well. So not only are we trying to build a pipeline with our high school students, we're also looking at how we can empower and help to further the education of our instructional assistants in the district as well.
Very good, thank you. And while we're on the high school students, I do know there's through Sarah, there's also a middle school component. Are you familiar, or do you have any information regarding a middle school component for Richland 1?
We do not have any students participating in that program. That's not been a part of what we've offered in the district. It's certainly something that we can look into. But we have districts make decisions about the related arts kinds of courses or the elective courses they offer. And we have such a robust arts program and so many other STEM offerings and so forth that's just not been something that we have offered in the past, but we can certainly look into that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to yield to Dr. Witherspoon returns because 2 of my items are for him.
All right, any other, yes, excuse me, Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I just want to specifically call out a second grade class that I had the honor of reading a book about an emu. Mr. Barger's class at A.J. Lewis Greenview Elementary was absolutely remarkable and has been the highlight of the last few months of my work. I got to read this book, but before I started, I showed them the front cover, which had an emu, but you couldn't really tell what an emu looked like from the cover, and I asked them if they knew what one looked like, and this little kid raised his hand and immediately described an emu absolutely perfectly. And I asked him how in the world he knew that, and he said because of the Liberty commercials. I can recognize a remarkable teacher when I see one and when I see him interacting with the students, and Mr. Barger is unbelievable with his kids. Every single student had drawn and written a really nice note for me, which I will cherish. So thank you to Dr. Evans and Mr. Barger and the other folks at A.J. Lewis Greenview Elementary. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Okay, Commissioner Harris was waiting for you to come back. Dr. Witherspoon,
Thank you.
a few questions for you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Dr. Witherspoon, and I've got several questions in my board report and a couple of acknowledgments. Dr. Witherspoon, in light of the heightened concern of fights, disruptive behavior that we are experiencing, not just across the district, it's across the state, it's across the country. The threats, the hoax, 16 in one day across the state of South Carolina. I am asking, and I'm asking for my colleagues to support a review of our disciplinary policies, as well as our code of conduct book. I think we need to review some of these policies as it relates to disruptive behavior and how we address it. Even in listening to the principals that I've had a chance to talk with, administrators, and even a conversation I've had with you, Dr. Witherspoon, I'm going to ask if Attorney Williams can bring those policies back before us so we can look at that. We have to be very proactive in the world that we live in. We've been blessed, we've been fortunate that we have not had a shooting in a school. But just as we took a stance as a board to put a mask mandate in place to keep the schools and the classroom safe, we owe it to the students, we owe it to the faculty to do the same, to create and maintain that safe learning environment. So I am asking that sometime in the new year, Dr. Witherspoon, we have maybe a work session to talk about that. I think it's almost like someone says you can learn the way around every rule and how to get by with things, and not to speak from something direct, but to hear a principal say that students know you get in a fight, you do 5 or 7 days and you're back. Some are being involved in multiple altercations since the beginning of the school year. I believe that's a serious problem. And I think that Richland 1 has to take a very proactive step in making sure that we protect those classrooms. So I want to put that out there for you first, Dr. Witherspoon. I know you're already looking into some things, but I want to share that with my colleagues because that's of grave concern, and it calls for action now versus waiting for something to happen with the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I think we need to work on this now to make sure that those classrooms are preserved, Dr. Witherspoon. Secondly, I want to share with my colleagues that on Friday night, Lower Richland Athletics Department, along with the alumni, will be retiring the jersey of Stanley Roberts, who is a former player of Lower Richland High School that went on to play in the NBA for a number of years. He was All-American, all kinds of stuff, and I'm quite sure Coach Metz can speak a little better about him, but that ceremony will begin at 7:30 p.m. He did play alongside Shaquille O'Neal, who turned out to be a very good friend of his. So I do want to share that. And on the heels of sharing with Shaquille O'Neal, one of our very own is very famous, Mr. Dion Wallace, who is a Lower Richland graduate, had the opportunity of playing with Shaquille O'Neal when he was parents were stationed in Germany. And on the last episode of Shaq's life, Dion was on that show. So I encourage you to take a look at that and see one of our very own Richland 1 employees called to visit Shaq's home and spend an evening with him and some of his former players. Certainly want to give kudos to Dion for such an excellent job that he did on that show. And then a little while ago today, Coach Mark Davis from Hopkins Middle School was granted a proclamation from Richland County Council through Councilwoman Cheryl English and Councilman Overture Walker for winning the district's, Dr. Witherspoon, state, I believe, football championship. And what really makes his story very powerful, and I hope Coach Davis is listening, he wasn't just winning on the field, he was winning in the classroom. He's been very adamant about his students having high grades and high marks, and the father figure that you see that he is to those students is just remarkable. So I just want to share with my colleagues that probably about a little over an hour ago, the football team was at our county council meeting receiving this honor. Last but not least, but the cybersecurity program at Columbia High, Dr. Witherspoon, certainly want to thank this district for such a distinct honor to be one of the very few, I believe, districts across the country. I think it's 39. We happen to be one here in the state of South Carolina with Governor McMaster, along with our Superintendent of Education, Molly Spearman, was able to visit our cybersecurity program there. And I just want to give kudos to Dr. Witherspoon, to the staff there, and to all of those wonderful students that put on a great exhibition for our governor to see the great things that are happening in Richland 1. And then I want to also congratulate a principal that's in my community. I call her a little powerhouse by the name of Miss Inga Ferguson. Dr. Witherspoon, you're probably going to announce this, but I was actually visiting her school when she got the call, and I don't know who ran the hardest out there in the parking lot. She was walking me to the car, and Inga has been named the South Carolina Administrative of the Year for the state of South Carolina. So I certainly want to congratulate her. She is so deserving of that. If you've seen her relationship with her students and her parents, it is so unreal the way she knows those children by their name, every parent and everything else. And Inga does a great job of keeping her faculty and staff motivated and well fed. So I just want to put that in there, that plug in there, Dr. Witherspoon. And then before I yield, Mr. Chair, I want to personally thank you for your leadership of navigating us through, as what I call mucky and muddy waters. It's not very easy being the chair. It's a very difficult duty. It may look easy, but it's not easy. And one thing I applaud about you, and I'll say this even about myself, even though you're elected in District C2, you represent the entire district. And I want to thank my colleagues that supported me on tonight, because although I'm elected in the District Seat 4, which is your Lower Richland area, I will continue as a board chair to visit all 52 schools and make sure that I am across the district as I've done before. But I want to thank my colleagues, and certainly want to thank you, Mr. Bishop, for what you've done to move this district through this pandemic and these mucky waters. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any other comments? Commissioner Clyburn.
Mine is more of a question and an observation. In one of our, what do you call it? Public participation. One of our public participation comments, they referenced masks and discontinuing masks across our district. But this is just a personal, I haven't discussed this with you, Dr. Witherspoon, but I'm just wondering, are we still going to adhere and try to follow CDC guidelines and, the recommendations from DHEC and, all across the board? Because as far as I am still aware, our numbers are, I don't think they're going down as far as COVID cases, or they're plateauing. I'm not sure where we are, but they're still high.
They're going back up. It was subsiding before Thanksgiving.
Right.
They're going back up.
They're going back up, and holiday season is coming up, and all of that. So, and our kids, not all of them are vaccinated. I'm still waiting on mine to have their appointment to come up. So, I'm just concerned about that, and just wanted to make that point. So,
all right. Seeing no more comments, I want to also share in the joy of reading, just like Commissioner Lomanak had the awesome opportunity, Commissioner Lomanak, to go to South Kilbourne. And guess what happened? I got the same colorings mailed to me. And I don't know about you, Robert, but man, whatever day I was having that day, it was around Monday and Tuesday, I kept reading those little notes. Because no matter what was being sent to me by email, no matter what was being sent to me by text or messaging, those kids' voices and their notes is what made it matter the most. They told me stuff like, "We love you," when everyone else wants to hate you. They told me, "We appreciate you." They even told me one thing I'm bragging about to this day. They told me I'm the best reader in the world. One particular student spoke up and he wrote in his expressions that the book reminded him of him and his grandmother's relationship. And the one I had a takeaway on was a picture of me and one of the students standing beside each other. And it's amazing how children see you. And let it be known, Jamie Devine, I interpreted it as I had a halo over my head. And so, I don't think I have a halo, but this bald head does glow every now and then. That's what matters to me. That's what matters. And I'm going to cherish that because I may never get a plaque for being chairman, but those pictures told me I was chairman. I'm going to keep those with me and remind myself of the sacrifice and the opportunities that I experienced while sitting in this seat. Thank you so much. Without no other further comment. Okay. Commissioner King.
Yes, on the heels of your comments, that's a nice segue for me to Dr. Witherspoon. Maybe you can address it in your school, in your board report. We're not district employees, but we're in schools reading. In fact, I'm reading, I think it's my 8th or 9th consecutive year tomorrow at 8:15 when it's going to be about 32 degrees, going and reading the Polar Express of all things at Forest Heights Elementary, one of my favorite things to do. But Dr. Witherspoon, I really hope that we're going to we're going to be able to open back up our schools to parents and volunteers, because as a large discussion, much larger discussion, we need bodies in schools, and we have a whole lot of parents that have time, that have skills, and that have love for all children, and that want to be in the schools, hall monitors, making copies, whatever, being there at lunch. We have to open up. COVID is not an excuse anymore. Adults are vaccinated. Ask them for their vaccination card. They'll wear a mask. We have to rely on our community partners and our parents to come and be our support and our bodies in the schools when we are having these staff shortages and these incidents with students based on a number of things that happen in their lives. We have to open our schools back. That's my ask. Thank you.
Any other comments? Dr. Witherspoon, I do look forward to 2022 when you address that. Before I give it to Commissioner Devine, I think we do need to understand the value of what was just said. I think everyone should on this board that, you know, it takes a village to raise one child, a child. And so, Ms. Harris, you did a whole conference around the village. And I think when we understand how to do it properly, do it orderly and safely, with a real discussion with this administration, we can do it safely and securely, because we're just not talking about now just COVID. we got things that are happening in the community in violent ways coming into the schools. And so when we look at, you know, the security of our buildings according to COVID protocols of how to do it, we got to also think about security and safety of everyone who walks in. What was it? A few weeks ago, we had a shooting in the school. It was scary to see those students sitting in the classroom and someone perpetrating law enforcement, asking them to open up the door. I asked myself, and I'm done, Mr. Devine, I'll give it to you. What do you do when you get that call? Not even just in the threat of a lost life, but just the threat on a child's life, period. So this is a conversation that has to take place, and it can't happen just, you know, without any strategy or conversation from the leadership on what that looks like. So, Dr. Witherspoon, I look forward to that conversation as well. Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. I guess 2 weeks ago, yours truly was installed as state president of the School Boards Association. Thank you to my colleagues who voted for me and to the other school districts across the state. But I did want to just recognize that we passed as a state 33 resolutions, legislative resolutions that will go to our House and Senate members across the state of South Carolina to discuss mental health services, fully funding education, impact fees that varies, lottery money, teacher salary cap, bus safety, governance, tax reform, teacher salaries, and a myriad of things. Then we also had some resolutions that we had for deletion that were deleted because those things have been fulfilled, i.e. early childhood education and education innovation. And so during that time and during my remarks, I remind everyone, and I continue to do that, we got to get back to basics in school boarding. Got to get back to basics in school boarding. And those three tenets are advocating, legislating, and policy making. And that's what those are our tenets of what we do as school board members. And I remind board members, just as I did across the state just a few weeks ago, that we're governed by state law 5915, and that talks about advocating, legislating, and policy making for all of our school districts across the state of South Carolina. So I would ask that we continue to abide by that as board members, not just here in Richland 1, but also across the state of South Carolina. We have a number of board members who are doing good work and who are really here for the students and as well as our staff, and to make sure that we get those things done for the least, the lost, and the less of us that are here. So with that said, I appreciate the opportunity moving forward as state president for this year. We'll spend a lot of time at the State House, General Assembly, advocating for legislation to affect us, and then while I'm also there, also advocating on behalf of Richland 1 to ensure that we get some of those legislative agenda items completed as well. We'll continue to report back on those items. So again, thank you all for that support. Dr. Witherspoon, before I give my last remarks, I do have a few questions. A question in regards to drills. Not sure if you're going to mention that tonight. Tornado, fire, and active shooter. Are you prepared to discuss those, or should we have those next year?
We will be talking about safety and security and some related areas as a part of the superintendent's report.
All right, very good. Thank you, Chairman Bishop.
All right, Commissioner Harris. Thank you, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will be brief. Commissioner Devine, I do apologize for not publicly congratulating you on being the School Board Association's new president. We know that you're going to do a great job. And we look forward to working with you as the caucus president for the few months that we're still in office to get some things done as well. But I did want to go back to something that you mentioned that I think was very important. And it's a cause and a need for us to understand the value of attending the conferences. There's so much information that is given to us, and we met with about 6 of our legislators, our education committee for the state. We were able to have dialogue with them, and that's one of the things I really appreciate that SCSBA does, where we're able to ask those hard questions and to hear them talk about all of the money that is coming into the state of South Carolina. And education, public education, has not been fully funded at all. So as Senator Mike Fannin said, you know, we'd like to try a lot of things. Let's try fully funding education. A lot of times we are taking what we have and trying to do so much with it, as we talked about earlier when Dr. Long was talking about finding additional money to make sure we can bring up some of those salaries. Well, if we fully fund education, it gives us another pool of dollars that we need. And I know Mr. Carlin has shared this with us on numerous occasions, the amount of money that we are really being slighted on as a school district when it comes to fully funding education. So 2022 is going to be a very interesting year at the Capitol because, as we've stated earlier, there are a few bills that have been pre-filed that will directly impact education as we know it. And we have to be on the lookout and the alert for that, but also able to have real conversation and dialogue with our legislators. And that's the role of this board. It's not the other antics. Our job is advocacy, and I know that there have been, may he rest in peace, Representative Jimmy Bales. There was an issue that came before the state that would have hurt Richland 1 tremendously. And Dr. Witherspoon, you may remember this. We were at the Capitol, and we met with Representative Bales and others, and through his efforts, that process was halted. It was stopped, and they went back and did some research, and what they realized that it would have negatively impacted districts such as Richland 1, Richland 2, Charleston, and other districts. So, you know, that advocacy piece is very important. A lot of times we, you know, you look at the here and the now and just here, but there are things that happen down there at the Capitol that directly impacts the classroom. And as board members, we owe it to the district, to our parents, when they elect us. They elect us to be a voice for them, not just at the board meeting, not just on the computer and social media and other places, but they elect us to be a voice that advocates for the children, to make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful. that we advocate for our teachers to make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful. So, Mr. Devine, I just wanted to add that in there because I think that particular part of the meeting was very intense. To hear a lot of the issues that we see here in Richland, one is across the state, and you have legislators that have the understanding of former teachers and educators that know what needs to happen to improve education. They even talked about testing. They talked about reducing testing. They talked about having the Education Oversight Committee and the Department of Ed, which practically are doing the same thing. The only state. You know, these are issues that we as leaders need to be aware of and understand the importance of advocating for Richland 1 and other districts similar to us. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that from the Advocacy and Equity Conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner and Chairwoman-elect. Just want to also recognize Jamie Devine. I think the position that he's in as state president was last held by Jasper Salmon. And that was how many years ago, Commissioner Devine?
1990.
1990. Last time someone from Richland 1 held that position. So congratulations, Jamie, and we thank you for your hard work and dedication. That being said, no other, okay, Clyburn.
One more thing. I just wanted to thank my fellow commissioners for trusting me with this leadership role, and I was very honored to be Secretary Treasurer. So I know Secretary Treasurer-elect Myers will do a great job. That was an honor, and I just wanted to thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, with that being said, let us move on to item 11, Office of the Superintendent. Item 11.01, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you,
Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Certainly Commissioner Harris took a lot